Thank you very much.
Hi everyone. Hi guys. Can everyone see me?
Not yet.
So I am going to start sharing. Good afternoon. Okay, I'm going to start sharing my screen now. Yeah. So yeah, I think this. Oh shoot! Just a second. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes.
What's the screen saying, please?
Applying
What
for
is
your
saying?
first
Applying for your first job.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I think, yeah, this is my first slide. Yeah. I think we can start now. So hi everyone. My name is Oluwaseeto. I am a designer at Paystack, and I'm really happy to be here. So today we'll be talking about building your design portfolio. So basically the process from you finish your, sorry, if you cannot hear me at any point, please just let me know. I use SpectraNet, so it can be choppy sometimes. So basically the process from you finish your graduate accelerator program and you're about to like get your portfolio together, apply for your first job and start your first job. So that's basically what I'm going to be talking about now. Yeah, so just an intro. Who am I and why should you listen to me? So like I said before, my name is Sheto. I work at Paystack, but I studied architecture, undergrad and master's. So I've got a master's in architecture and I've got a BSc in architecture. I started designing in 2016. Started with posters, did a little bit of brand identity and then illustrations and all of that. Right now at Paystack, I'm on the communication design team as a brand designer. Although I do some tiny product design work sometimes, both at Paystack and like freelance, and then I read and all of that. So I've made my fair share of portfolios, both architecture and design, because to apply for masters, I had to create a portfolio. And then I worked as a UI UX designer for almost a year before I accepted an offer at Paystack to join the communication design team as a graphic designer. So yeah, that's like my journey. That is who I am, and that's what I'm doing right now. So today I am going to be talking to you about 4 major things: my journey to and in the industry, applying for your first job, and then portfolios. And then if you've got any questions, I would be happy to take them at the end, but you could always drop them in the chat, like right now, if you've got questions that you don't want to forget. So yeah, we're just going to jump right in to my journey to and in the industry. So 2016 was when I started. I started learning with CorelDRAW. Don't worry, I'm not proud of that part, but the starting point. So I was winging it and then asking people for feedback. So just do whatever I can, ask people for feedback, volunteer to be on different projects. So that was how I learned, mostly just like working on different projects and volunteering. 2017, I picked up illustration, flat illustration, and I got my first design role, an internship at Syracuse Digital. I don't know if they're still active. And then I started learning Photoshop and a bit of After Effects on the job. I worked with a couple of multinational brands while at Syracuse. Then I went for my master's, and then I stopped taking gigs and jobs because I needed to focus. So that was 2017. And then I took a design break from 2017. And then 2019, I started job hunting. And because my master's was ending and I started teaching myself UI design, I made a lot of mistakes because I was just basically freestyling it, doing all these online courses and all of that. A couple of people took chances on me to work on live projects. So I was able to get like live projects in my portfolio. I did a couple of fake shop projects, like to add to my portfolio, things that I would have basically designing for problems that I had encountered. And then that was how I got to know about Paystack. So for Paystack, how it happened was that when I finished as I was rounding up my master's, I was applying for jobs in England, but as a backup plan, I was applying for jobs in Nigeria. I might mention Paystack to me, and I started doing my research, and then I heard about Ope Falameri, who is the head of the design team at Paystack, and I sent him an email. I introduced myself in the email. I told him why I would love to work for Paystack. I told him what I was doing right now, what I was doing to develop myself, and why I felt like what I would add to the Paystack team, and why I felt like Paystack would be a good fit for me. Surprisingly, he replied my email and told me that when I was in Lagos, I should speak to him for a chat. But before I came to Lagos, a position opened up at Paystack for the role of a graphic designer. I applied, got to the final stage-ish, but I did not get it. So that was like big L. But it was calm. I got a job in the meantime. I started working as a UI designer at iCube Labs. Something to note at this point is that I don't think I've ever actually properly applied for a design job. Most of the roles I've gotten, they've been from referrals or people that I know or cold calling. So it's something I'm going to touch on later. But the thing about it is that obviously it's nice to apply, but building your network before you start applying or building your network while you're learning is really good, because it makes the whole application process easy for you. Because once people know you or someone has mentioned your name to them, you become a shoo-in over the other candidates because of that relationship eventually. So now I work as a graphic designer at Paystack. I work on some communication material. Sometimes I do product work. I freelance as a UI designer to improve my skills. And I'm taking classes on IDF, that's Interaction Design Foundation, and on Udemy for After Effects. So I'm sure you guys, I don't know if anyone saw, but yeah, Paystack Music went out, I think it was last week. Yeah, so my team worked on that. It was a very exciting project. I learned so much. And if you're interested in knowing how we built it, you could check out Paystack blog to find out how we built that project. So yeah, let's get to why we're here. Applying for your first job. So you're done with SGA, you've got a few projects in the bag and you're ready to apply. Before you apply, for me, the application process is in apply for your first job is in 3 stages. So you have the preparation, the hunt, and then applying. So preparation, strategic positioning. I know like people say this every time and it sounds a bit pretentious, but it is very important. Before you start applying, find people that you admire, people that you like their work, follow their work, interact with their tweets. They speak out about a topic you're interested in, feel free to chime in, interact with them, or if they're having like online trainings and all of that, we have a lot of seminars these days. Attend the seminars, ask questions, just like a way to mark your presence so they know you. And as you're doing this, make sure that your bio reflects what you're currently doing, so that if maybe you interact with their tweets and they're like, oh, who's this person? The person actually made sense. Person goes to check your profile and says, oh, he's a UI designer, maybe, and then maybe your portfolio is there. You never know what might happen. The person might contact you. So yeah, so you establish your presence, but don't do that thing where you just tag them in every project that you do. It can be very, very annoying, honestly. It can be slightly annoying for them. But as you're interacting with these people, you never know when you've gotten their attention. So be careful with what you say on social media and how you say it. Like, the way this cancel culture is, and nothing really stays secret for long. So just be careful, because the internet actually never forgets, honestly. Then community, finding a community. Community is really, really important, because no one's an island. You can't do all these things on your own. So as you are positioning yourself, preparing for your first job, find community. There's a range of communities in Nigeria. In Africa, there's She Designs for female designers. That's non-coding careers in tech. There's Usable. Usable is for UI, UX design, product design. There's Asha Koteri. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right, but that is like multidisciplinary. There's Figma Africa, there's Adobe XD. These communities, they're always sharing things that you can learn from. They're always sharing things you can learn from. They're always also sharing job roles and all of these. They're always doing seminars and online courses and all of that. So yeah, join a community, interact with people. You never know who you're learning from. You never know who has the next role for you. You never know where your next job will be. So just join the community and become a part of design Twitter, design community in quotes, because you never actually know when it will click. Then networking. When you eventually go for these events or you attend them online, just try to talk to people. I know it can be very hard. I'm an introvert myself, so talking to people sometimes can be a big struggle. But just try, ask questions at the event, answer questions, just do things. Because you never know when things will click, like I said before. And if you see someone that you're very interested in and it looks like they will be of help to you, after you speak to them at that event, you can always send a follow-up DM, follow-up message to ask for maybe design feedback or design help or to ask a question. But when you're messaging these people, know that they're very busy and you are somewhat taking their time. So don't come empty-handed, have something to show, because it means that you're a serious person. Now we're going to the hunt. So how do you find openings? Because we know that, oh yeah, jobs are hard to find, all of that. Remember the networking you did before and community and establishing a relationship. So now that you've built this network, when a job comes up, who would the person you network before think of first? Or if your name comes up, don't you think that they'll give you more priority over the other person that hasn't spoken to them before? Exactly. So that is how networking helps you, because you've built that relationship before. When you apply for jobs, it's easier. Like me now, the way I got my job, I said that I did not get the job at first in 2019 when I applied, but then 2020, I got a phone call if I was still interested in the role. And that was how I started. I didn't need to interview again because there was a relationship established before. Because I understand that, because when the opening comes up, they will eventually contact you. Secondly, don't be scared to do cold emails. For cold emails, I'll tell you that don't just send it to their careers at blah, blah, blah.com. Try to find the point person in that organization, maybe their head of design or their lead product designer or their lead UX designer, that kind of thing. So find that person, because the emails do better when you send them to an individual's mailbox than to the career's email. Like for Paystack, I sent my email to Ope directly, and I did some research about it. I did some research about the best person to send the email to, which was him. I did some research about the company, about the role, because once again, don't come empty-handed. Prove that you are worth their time and you are actually the best person for that role. Do your research about the role and the company. What has the company innovated in the recent times that you are interested in? How do you think you'll be of value to them? How would you help them? How would they help you? It is a mutual relationship. It is not like someone is a parasite to the other person. That is symbiotic, because you're doing work and you're also learning from them. So when you are sending that cold email, do try to do all those things. And if the email is to a direct person, you could always, you've seen them write about, if it's to a particular person, even as you've spoken about the company, if let's say the person, you follow the person on Twitter, and the person recently wrote an article about, designing for blah, 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 blah. You can now refer to the person's article that, I remember that you wrote an article about designing for accessibility. Personally, I feel like it's a very important topic, and all of this and all of that and all of that. And this is what I've learned from it. I look forward to speaking to you about this topic more in future. Just like that, you've piqued the person's interest, because the person, you are not just interested in the job that they have to offer you. You're also interested in them as a person, which is something that is very important, because human relationships are extremely, extremely important. So I'm trying to see. Okay, so yeah. Then the next thing, then also other places to find jobs: LinkedIn, job boards, Twitter. Like, I know I sound like such a millennial, or is that the word for it? Saying Twitter, but bro, do you know how many roles people tweet on a daily? Do you know how many people always say, DM me your portfolio, do this, do that, do this, do that. And now that you've found the openings and you're applying, please, if you don't know how to prepare a product design CV, Google is your friend. You cannot just do anyhow and give it to them, because you are telling them that you're a designer. So you have to prove that this design thing that you are claiming that you actually know it to the end. So everything you do should be intentional. You cannot just give them a CV that is just a very ugly template from wherever. It should be very intentional. So try and do your research on how a CV for that role that you're applying to should look. And that thing is that try to tailor your CV to the role you are applying to. I know that it can be really stressful when you're applying for jobs. Believe me, I know. When I was finishing my master's, I'm sure I applied for about 100 or 50 jobs. So I know how stressful tailoring your CV can be. But I promise you that it's worth the effort. And eventually you would actually have a format for doing these things, like if you just take the course. So yeah, if you don't know how to write, that's one thing. So your profile and all this is very important. If you don't know how to write, get someone to help. There are a lot of people that offer writing services now. Also, a cover letter is very important as a designer, because sometimes as a product designer, you're not just designing. You may end up having to write copy, may end up having to document your process and all of that. So for you to be able to prove to your potential employer that you are, I'm sorry, I talk with my hand a lot. So you to be able to prove to your employer that you are a good candidate for the job, it starts with the little things: your cover letter, your profile, your CV. So almost every single little detail is extremely important. Please, that's something that, don't slack on that. So we're going to move on to the next part, portfolios. I think I'm going to spend the most time, but let's see how it goes. So basic definition of a portfolio is a compilation of work, samples, and professional documentation that provides proof of your accomplishments or sample of your work. So why portfolios? How else will you show that you can? So you've sold your employer dreams. Okay, maybe not sold them dreams. You've told them what things you can do. You can do wireframing, you can do UX research, you can do prototyping, you can do UX writing, you can do A/B testing, you can do lo-fi, you can do information architecture, you can do affinity diagrams, you can do when all these fancy UX terms and UI buzzwords, you can do all those things. But then because it is something that's practical, it's not like an economics role, accounting role that is a certificate. You need to show that you can do the work. So your portfolio is basically proof that all those things you said in your CV, that you can actually do it. So that is why a portfolio is so important. Personally, I don't feel like any serious designer should apply for a role without a portfolio. Even if you don't have the time or strength for a proper one, just try to put something together, but we'll get to that soon. So where will you put your portfolio? There are two main ways that you can actually prepare a portfolio. One is hard copy as a PDF, and the other is a website, like a personal portfolio website. So PDF can be prepared on InDesign, Adobe Illustrator, Canva, Affinity Design, all these things. But my problem with PDF portfolios is that it takes time, because you have to format all your images and everything to a particular size. And then every single time you have something new to add, you have to edit the whole thing and re-export, which can be a bit stressful. And also, if, like I said before, your portfolio and your CV has to be tailored to the role that you're applying for. So imagine if you're applying for a fintech role, you're applying for agri-tech role, you're applying for role in you're applying for an agency role, and then your portfolio is a PDF document. That means that you're going to have to make a separate PDF document for each of those roles. So it's just easier for you to, so for me personally, I'm probably a bit biased to be fair, but I believe that a personal or portfolio website is the easiest way to go, which is why I'm going to dwell on it so much on the next slide. So it is probably the most common in this day and age, and I feel like it's the easiest. I used to have one, but I took it down because I'm trying to redo my portfolio. And since like I know that I don't have an immediate need, I can take my time and make it really well. So there are some ways that I have seen people make their portfolios. One very easy way is Notion. If you don't know what Notion is, I don't know how to help you. Notion is, their definition is, Notion is an all-in-one workspace. So Notion is like Google Suite or Google Docs on steroids. It can do a lot of things. I've seen people create their whole portfolio in Notion. People's organizations run their whole database and everything on Notion. I use Notion for my personal finance. I use Notion for journaling. Use Notion to make my list. Use Notion to document processes and everything. Notion is really versatile. Another way you can prepare your portfolio is CMS, that's content management systems, like WordPress, Wix, Squarespace, Templates, ReadyMag, Weebly. There's a lot of them. So for all these ones, you can always get like templates and all of that, and then tweak it to serve your purpose. I think that you can get WordPress templates for as low as maybe $25, and then I know Templates goes for about 100 and something to 90 something dollars for a license. ReadyMag is a subscription-based thing. Can't really remember how much it goes for. Another place I've seen people do their portfolio is a website called ux4.io. So this ux4.io is made for UI designers by UI designers. It's really, really convenient. It's very convenient. It is basically it's also subscription based, but it is very, I don't know how to explain it, but imagine a portfolio CMS made for UI designers. So all the tools on it are really easy to use for your purpose. Another thing you can do is build it yourself. I know that some of us here are unicorns and we know how to do some front-end development and all of that. So yeah, if you think that is something you're capable of doing, take time out and build your portfolio yourself. It's a big plus, and it can be a very fun project. And also have the advantage of your portfolio being very unique. That's different to other people's portfolios. Or you could collaborate with a developer friend. What I mean is that if you have a friend that is like a front-end developer or something, you could design your portfolio and they build it for you. You also design their portfolio and they build theirs as well, or you could just pay them. So those are some ways that you can get a portfolio website. And then yeah, invest in a good domain name. I think that goes without saying. And most of these things, they are nicer with a personalized domain name. And it's so easy to buy a domain name these days. On GoDaddy, you can get one for as cheap as $10, £10 a year, which is very, very convenient because you have it forever. Like I've got mine, even though my portfolio isn't really properly hosted on it, but yeah, I've got mine there. So next is what's inside. So there are two major things in your portfolio. There is you and your work. So you, what is so special about you? No offense, I'm not trying to show you anything. Who are you? What's so special about you? And then your work, what can you do? Because your portfolio is about you. Imagine that you're sending your CV to somebody. You won't be there when they get your CV or your portfolio. So your portfolio, your portfolio is them meeting you, but not meeting you. If you get what I'm trying to say. So yeah. So that's like their first interaction with you before they meet the real you. So think of your portfolio as your alter ego or your proxy. It should look as good as you think you look, or as good as you think you are. So for the you part, it is, like I said, the recruiter hasn't met you yet. Your portfolio is the first point of contact. What do you think they should know? Obviously, your name. Your name, what do you do? Are you a product designer? Are you a UI designer? Are you a UX designer? Are you a UX writer? What do you do aside from work? Because everybody's always shouting work-life balance and having other interests. So do you run? Do you DJ? Do you dance? Where are you? Are you in Lagos? Are you in Ilorin? Are you in Abuja? Try to keep this as interesting as possible. Not that you should use slangs, but don't take yourself too seriously. Like, it should be very interesting. Oh, I had a couple of images here, but for some strange reason, they are not showing. So let me see if I can find another. That's really weird. Because I had like a couple of images on that slide. So just give me a second. Let me try to find another, find the screenshot I took. Sorry. So, but while we wait for that, so this is from one of my teammates at Paystack, and he tells you what he does and what is special about him in quotes, and then where he works currently and what he does apart from work. So he watches a lot of TV show and listens to trap music. I had a couple of other examples. Well, let me just see if I can find them by this side. Sorry, my internet's a bit choppy, so please forgive me. It's so weird. I guess I'll come back to that later when I can find it. So just pardon me for that. I don't know why this is happening. So yeah, next we jump to your work. So this is literally why we are on your portfolio. So your work should tell us. That's why we're here. So here are a few pointers. You don't have to tell your work there. You don't have to tell your work there. Pay attention to your visuals. Be very intentional with your visuals. It's not enough to just take screenshots from Figma and put it there. I think this is one I'm going to dwell on for a lot. So for the first part, don't put all your work there. I think a good rule of thumb is to pick your best 3. And that is like the ones that apply to the job you're applying for. So if you're applying for a fintech role, then put your fintech work front and center, and then you can put the other supporting work. If you're applying for maybe agrotech role, put that something that relates to that front and center, and then the other ones can be supporting it. Don't put, even if I understand that, oh yeah, you're a badass graphic designer, and you were a badass graphic designer, you've done graphic design work, you've done this one, you've done that one, you've done that one. But please, you don't have to put everything there. It can be a bit confusing to your recruiter because make sure that you don't have focus. No offense. Yeah. So that's something that you should keep in mind. Then pay attention to your visuals. It won't take you time to mock up your work. Like, I know that you put a lot of work on those screens, but if you just put those screens flat on a page, it doesn't show the work that you've done. Presentation actually is like, I feel like for you. You can make it look really, really nice. Like make your mock-ups look very, very nice because you are a designer. You're applying for a product designer. A product designer deals with visuals. So you should show that visuals are actually your superpower, not just something that is by the side. Because it's not enough to be able to do the work. You have to be able to present it and show that, yes, you're actually capable of this work. Then show your work. I know your portfolio is meant to show your work, but for showing your work, the final result is very, very important. But what is more important is your process. Because design is a process. I'm sure you've learned about design process, how it starts from, I think it starts from, oh God, I can't really remember. But yeah, there's a whole cyclical process about how you go through iteration and testing and all of that. So yeah, it's the same thing. You need to show where you started from. Oh, what was the problem? How did you go about solving the problem? Did you send out questionnaires? If you send out questions, what were your insights? From these insights, did you now create sketches, or did you decide that you had to go back to the field? After you created sketches, did you have any lo-fi? From your lo-fi, did you have any hi-fi? Did you create any did you have any direction that you discarded? Why did you discard them? Just try to explain the whole process. As a recruiter, they're always very concerned with your process because it's not enough to have like fancy screens on it because of what UI design is. It deals with users and everything is a process. They need to understand how you go from A to B. Obviously, you go from A to B. We can see that in your result. But what was that journey like for you? Then tell a story. Most times it feels like there's nothing new that you've done under the sun. Like maybe there's nothing new there. But how you tell the story makes your work stand out. So try to make it interesting. Don't bore the reader. Make the whole thing a journey. Make them feel as excited as you felt when you were creating that product. They should feel all the things you felt. So that to help you do that, try to document as you create. Don't finish creating and then document. If you document after you've created, it's easy for you to lose a lot of what you might have had, a lot of the epiphanies and all of the ideas you might have had while you were creating. So when you're creating, try to have a notepad where you document all the things that you were doing, decisions you made, decisions you did not make. So if it was a team effort, why you should try to tell them the part you played and why you decided to do whatever you did. Your personality needs to shine through. They need to feel you, because remember, you are not there when they're looking at your portfolio. So your portfolio is the you that they're seeing at that point in time. Then what did you learn? I believe that for every single thing that we do, for every single project that you do, there's always a lesson. For Paystack Music, we had lessons that we learned at the end of everything. No matter how big you think the organization is, the lessons that you learn, your lesson might be that, oh, users do not respond well to this, and this, or children enjoy blah, blah, blah. Or maybe your lesson was something as simple as, next time you are designing, you should start with this iteration first, or stick to doing patterns. Just show your lesson. It shows that you are interested in growing as a designer, and you're actually interested in learning, not that you know it all, because you can learn from anything, including your work. So you showing your process actually means that, yeah, you're able to learn from your work. Okay, so I think I've got the other page. So I'm just going to show you that page now. If you give me a second. The one about you. Okay. Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. Don't know if you can see. If you can see that. But this is another person's introduction to himself. He said, I'm a web designer, developer based in Lagos, Nigeria. So it tells you who he is, where he's based, what he does, his passion for interactive design, aesthetics, and smooth UI, and then what he does apart from work. So he believes that he has good taste in music. He takes great shots with his iPhone and his Canon 600D. He also does other things on Pinterest. And then sometimes you can actually put links to all these things that you do, because it makes you more interesting as a person, because now the recruiter feels like, oh, when this person comes and you have a couple of things in common with them, you can do this as a team when the person is here. Then this next one is another person's portfolio. She says, I'm Steph Young. I'm a designer who specializes in digital product design, dabbles in all things creative, senior designer at UNO, and this is what she does where she is. Then gives you a bit about her history, where she lived before, where she was born, and all of that. And tells you if she's open to collaborations or not. So yeah, that is an example of how you could do this. So yeah, back to where we were. So now, what did you learn? So now to the next slide. So if you do not have work to show, because all these things I'm saying is like, oh yeah, someone that has been working for some time, or someone that had a job previously, it would apply to them. But imagine if it is someone that just finished learning about product design, just finished a boot camp, or just finished a class, like an accelerator like this one. What could you possibly do? So some ways that you could get work to show. First of all, you can redesign some apps you love. So for redesigning the app, I don't believe that you should redesign the whole app, because I don't think I'm not trying to be like, I don't think you can redesign the whole app, because teams worked on those apps for months. So you can't just come and say, oh yeah, I'm redesigning the whole app. You could pick an area of the app to redesign. So maybe, like now, there was this case study I saw recently that someone tried to analyze some part of iMessage on iPhone and redesign some part of the experience. That is something. And that person recently thought of how to redesign the bookmark experience on Twitter. That's also something. So that's a very useful case that you could have on your portfolio. Another way is to collaborate with young designers, or like designers that start now like yourself. You guys will come together on a team project and work together. And then on the case study or whatever, you can now tell them about what you did and how you did it. Then you could do hackathons. There are a lot of hackathons these days where they group you in teams of designer, developer, product manager, and all of that. The beauty of these hackathons is that most times your design gets produced. So your design goes into production, and then you can have the benefit of saying that, oh yeah, I've got a live project to show. or you could create a fake app to solve a problem that is bothering you. When I was hunting for a UI job, I created a fake app called Morewa. I did the whole process from beginning to end, including research and all of that, because I was struggling with finding hairdressers, nail techs, and all these beauty people that I could trust. So my app in quotes was basically they register on the app. You find what's it called? You find service providers close to you, and then you go to them. When you're done, you can rate them, you schedule your appointments and all of that. Then you can work with early stage startups. This early stage is where I got a lot of my experience with it, because I think I worked with 2 early stage startups, and I don't think I got paid for it, honestly. But for me, I had the luxury of that because I was still like a student, so my parents were paying, like their parents were there. So yeah, I worked with them and I learned a lot about shipping a project. I worked with a product manager, I worked with a dev, understood how to hand off a project to a dev and all of that. It was really, really good experience. So those are ways that you can actually get work to show. And then the next thing is, another way is to create a fake app to solve some, I already said that. So now that I've said about your work, another thing is that I did not discuss here because I felt like it is a whole other lecture on its own, is case studies. So case studies are basically how you tell a story about your work. So it's because you are starting out and all of that, a lot of designers that I've seen that have like a lot of like big portfolios, some of them do not have case studies, just link directly to their work. But there are a couple of designers that actually still write case studies, and I've got some examples on the next slide. So we're going to go through those examples together, and we'll point out some of the things that I've spoken about and I like. So here are some examples. Some of them are people that I know, some of them are people I don't know. So I might be partial, but yeah. So let's go through those examples quickly. So yeah, oh shit. Sorry, just a second. I think I left this slide I was on by mistake. So just give me a second. I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point while I figure out the slide I was on. So forgive me for that. Okay, yeah, this is where I was. So yeah. So yeah, here are some examples, some of the portfolios that I absolutely enjoyed looking at. This is one. So this person is, I think, can you guys see my screen? The one with content manager.
No.
No, we can't.
What screen are you seeing?
Your slides, some examples.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Just give me a second. Can you see the screen now?
Yes,
Yes, we
yes.
can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Taking time. So yeah, so this person on his page, he already tells you what he does, and he tells you his name. Straight to the point, yeah. And then now tells you a brief thing. Now says that, oh yeah, people probably know what a content manager is, and he gives you a little explanation on this, and he tells you some of his other interests apart from design, like I told you about. And then he tells you what he can do. So he does photography, and these are the tools he uses. He does video and motion. This is some work he has done. And then he does web design and UI UX design and 3D design. So now he's got a case study. So this is his case study. If you want to see the major case studies that he's got. So he tells you all what he did, how he went through the process. What he did and why he did it. And then he presented all his screens very creatively, like really, really nice. Obviously, I understand this might be a bit much for like a beginner and all of that, but he said that he did it in Webflow. I believe him, but like Webflow has not been so friendly to me, so I can't really say. And yeah, so this is just his case study generally on all the things that he did. And then he now gives you some metrics, like what were the results of the work that he did. That's one case study. That's one portfolio. This is another one that is going to load now, and I'm going to load another one. So, come on, yeah, still loading. Yeah. So this is another portfolio, and then the same process. He tells you his name, tells you what he does, and then selected works. So if you've seen that most of like the portfolios I've shown you, they don't have like all the people's works. Like this is Gabriel Esu's portfolio, and he has just 3 projects. Because all his projects are live, he just has a visit. He gives you a brief summary, tells you what exactly he did on that project, and then he now tells you, oh, visit projects. And then this like third thing. This is like something that he does that is not design. This is what's this called? This illustration and animation. So yeah, this is one person's portfolio. And he made this one by himself because yeah, he's a creative designer and developer. So he designed and coded this by himself. So this is another portfolio. It's made with Notion. And I included this one to show you how easy it can be if you know that you don't have developer knowledge to make a portfolio. Like it was so straightforward. Just open the Notion account. You have your personal domain name. And then yeah, just start arranging stuff in it. And portfolio of projects, speaking resume, and then contact her. And then skills and experience, everything is there. So this even doubles as a resume. And then if you go to her projects, you'll see that she doesn't have 500 projects there, just has the most important ones. And what she did like really like detailed case studies. So you have the introduction, the how, and then what they did, testing, feedback, and impact. Because most of it, because that's like their life project. So I understand that if your work is not in life, you're able to have the testing, feedback, and all of that. Then another one is, this is another portfolio by someone else, by Chesson. Tells you where he is, product designer, and this is what he enjoys doing. Once again, he has just 3 items on his portfolio, not like everything that he has ever done. And then he has his contact information. I've got some other examples on the slides that you can take a look at later on. But yeah, you can go back to slide now. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, those are some examples. I would find some more examples later. So now we're going to, so while I was trying to prepare this presentation, I just threw the question out to people, the portfolio advice for a designer just starting out. And here's some things that people said. Said focus on showing your thought process, like I said. Then go easy on it, have fun, and be enthusiastic about your story, because people can feel your energy. I know it sounds a bit pretentious, but honestly, if you're excited about your work, it will show in what you're saying. It will show in how you tell your story. Then tell good stories with your case studies. Not every project deserves to have a portfolio piece, like I said. It's not all your projects that you put in your portfolio. Make sure they're relevant to what you're doing. Make sure that you are proud of them. You should be proud of whatever you're putting out. Don't put work that you're ashamed of. Then let your personality shine in everything, from visuals down to the copy. Like I said again before, it is basically you, but or the computer. So let it show your personality. And then keep iterating. There's no perfect portfolio. Just keep working at it and then have fun with it again. Can you see how people are saying have fun with it? And then make sure you talk about you. Like I said before, people need to know who you are, because I'm not giving a job to a robot. So like make sure that your portfolio shows your personality. Then some more. Then collaborate with people in your industry for good work. Like I said, collaborate with people. Do the work you like that reflects your interests. Focus on the problem that design solves for every product showcase. Focus on showing design idea like than the software used. Show your ability to collaborate is very important. So you can add things you learned at the end of the project. It's easier to document at the beginning than waiting for the end to collect, like I said before. And then getting feedback. So now that you have created your portfolio, how do you get feedback? Because you've already done all the fancy work. You've done all the fancy work. So how do you now get feedback from your portfolio after you've done everything? After you've done everything, how do you get? Hello? Hello?
Can hear you. Can hear you.
Can you see my screen?
Not yet. We can't.
Not yet.
Oh, wow. When did it stop sharing? I feel like the internet went off. Sorry about that. Where did you stop seeing my screen so I know what to share again, please?
Oh,
It's how to get feedback. Like,
Okay, so we're good. Because it went off for a second, so I was a bit worried. So yeah, you've done the hard work. So how do you get feedback? You should leverage on the networks that you've built beforehand. So people that you formed relationships with while you were talking and going for all those community things, just try to leverage on those networks and then talk to them, ask them for feedback. Just speak to them, ask them for what they think about your work, because that's always very, very, very helpful, honestly. Like, let me give an example. They'll almost always be happy to help. Just send a nice, polite covering message. And here's an example of what someone sent to me. Said, "Hi, how are you? Can I ask a favor?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, shoot." And person like that, "Oh, I want to take a look at my portfolio and give me feedback." And yeah, I was happy to do it. And I looked at her portfolio and I gave feedback on the portfolio. So now I think I'm done with the portfolio part. So the next part is what if you don't get it? So now we're just going to go to like a little extra. So what if you don't get the job? And then after you get the job, what next? So yeah, what if you don't get the job? Please don't take it personal. Like, yeah, I have like, my mailbox has a ton of rejection letters. So most of the time, they don't even know you. So how would they have been attacking you by not giving you the job? Do you get? Then if you can, ask the recruiter for feedback. Just like say once they told, "Oh, I'm sorry, you could not give me the position at this time," or "We'll keep your contact in file should a similar position come up." Just ask that, "Oh, hi, is there anything I can work on against the next application window?" And then hopefully the person will be able to give you feedback on what you can improve on for the next time. The next thing is have a support system. Job hunting can be extremely stressful. Like, it can be extremely stressful because at some point when you keep getting the rejection, you start feeling like, "Oh yeah, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not this, I'm not that, I'm not." It happens to the best of us, I promise you. But you should know that a job does not define your self-worth. Whether the job comes or not, you're still a bad guy. You went through SGA and you finished and you made all these nice projects and you're going to get a job that is worth your time. And then keep applying. It will click eventually, I promise you. It will actually click eventually. So yeah, if you get the job, try to tame your excitement. Please don't sign the contract immediately. I'm begging, don't sign the contract immediately. Give yourself time. Take time to look at your contract. Speak to people, speak to designers, speak to other people that have been working for some time. If you have people that are HR professionals, speak to them, speak to lawyers, and ask questions if there's anything you don't understand about your contract. Watch out for clauses on intellectual property, non-compete, and termination of employment, because these things will come back to bite you at the end. Like, imagine that your first job's at, I'm sorry I keep using a fintech example, but that's like what I know. Imagine your first job at a fintech, and then on your contract, it says that when you leave here, you can't work at another fintech. But then your abilities are best suited to work in a fintech role. So that has already put an disadvantage, because it means that you have to go and start looking for a job in a completely different sector than what you originally planned to, which won't be very nice. Then watch out for how leave days are handled, sick days and parental leave. Like, all these are important things. Watch out for how they are handled. If they're not taking your leave seriously, then please, it's not worth it, because you don't want to die in the process of that work. Then after you get the job, so suddenly, after you get a job, so suddenly, you've gotten your job and you're starting your first design role, but then you feel like you scammed your way to the role. I want you to know that you did not scam your way, and everybody started from somewhere. So no one is really there. We all hold ourselves to some standards that are somewhat ridiculous, and that's why we feel inadequate most times. I struggled with this when I first joined Paystack. I'm still struggling with it, even though I'm 6 months in. So you feeling like you don't know anything is a good thing, because that inadequacy means that you know you can do better. So don't get comfortable. Keep going, keep creating, keep learning. And then my final slide, just a few pointers. Communicate early, communicate often. If you don't understand the task they've given, ask questions. Like, you're not going to die if you ask questions, just ask. And they tell you that they don't know, keep asking, because if you don't do the work well, it's going to be on you. You have to repeat the work. And because we are remote these days, keep your manager in the loop. At the beginning of the day, if you don't have a stand-up, tell them, you can give a heads up on what you're going to be working on. And then they give them a summary of what went down. If you're stuck, ask for help. If you have any blockers, ask for help. You're on a team for a reason. Volunteer. And so second part is proactively look for opportunities to add value. Even though you're there as a designer, volunteer for other parts of the job. Like, you don't have to do just design. If they're doing like a company retreat, you can volunteer to organize games. Just prove that you're a value-adding personality, that you're a team leader and that you're resourceful. You are as responsible for your growth as your manager. Your growth is very important. So communicate. If you are not comfortable with the tasks you are getting, if you feel like you are not getting challenged enough, tell your manager, tell them, keep learning, go for seminars. Ask if your company has a budget for personal development. My company has a budget for that, and they encourage you to keep learning and take seminars and all of that. Think of your manager as a coach, not a judge. So be open. They can't help you unless you speak up. Obviously they're a judge because they determine your promotion. But if you don't tell them where the shoe is pinching, they cannot help you. Be honest with them about your aspirations and motivations, where you like to go, and they will help you to improve. Form genuine relationships. It's not every time professional networking. Obviously, it's nice to have all those 500 contacts on LinkedIn and have all these things, but forming relationships that are genuine, not just because you're trying to get ahead in your job, it makes you more human. And people are not looking for robots. Like, being human is very important, because you're a designer, so your humanity, your empathy should shine through. Then finally, learn how to give feedback. Once again, it's not personal. Separate your work from your person. Once you separate your work from your person, when you get feedback, it won't hurt as much, because when you get feedback, you know that you are getting feedback for you to become better. And also, when you are giving feedback to people, just put yourself in that person's shoes. try to compliment the person's work at first. When you compliment the work, you can now ask them questions. Not that your feedback should just be you telling them, change this, change this, change this, change that. You are on a team. So try to have empathy. Try to show love. Yeah, so I think I'm done now. I'm sorry if I rambled a bit. And yeah, thank you for listening to me. Have you got any questions? Hello? Hi.
Hi, Sheto.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can hear you.
Thank you so much for the session. It was quite straight to the point, interesting, and it was very relatable, at least for me, because I've been with students for a couple of years now, so I can tell the different stories of alumni, people that just finished. So it might not really be so relatable for some of them, but I guess there are some particular parts that will resonate for them as well. Things about that imposter syndrome at this moment, I'm sure that a lot of them are feeling it. So that word of encouragement was really it for me. So I would like the class to share some things that resonated for them, and then afterwards we can go on with the questions. I'm sure some of us also have questions to ask at this moment. So let's shoot. So would anyone like to share some things that resonated from them? Anyone, or else I'll have to start calling names. But let's not get to that part first.
Good afternoon, Oluwaseeto.
Hi.
Thanks, thanks a lot for the presentation. I think you made a lot of points in the presentation, up to the point that even asking a question at times might be a bit difficult. But personally, I'm not an introvert, but I'm not that kind of extrovert that talks like every now and then. So, and at times, if you speak with some designers, especially if they don't know you, they don't really relate well with people they don't really know like that. So, how is it possible for startups like us to build relationships for designers that are actually in the industry?
Okay. Sorry, am I muted? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So yeah, how do you build relationships? I understand what you mean by it can be very difficult to break in because it feels like there's a click somewhat. So I feel like for me, first thing is good work and consistently put out your work. So when you create, just put it out, tag people, like don't tag them under the post, but like when you okay, no, don't tag them because I find that very annoying. So yeah, just be consistent with creating. That's one thing. And then when you create work, you can now message the people that you think people that you admire, people that you would like to get feedback from, and just DM them that, oh hi, I am currently learning product design and I did this. Would you be able to give me some feedback? And I can promise you that more than half of the designers you think that, oh, they are not very easy to talk to, they will be happy to give you feedback. I can promise you that. Like they would actually be happy to give you feedback, especially with your approach. But my belief is that don't ever go empty. Always have something that you are showing them to prove that you are serious, because time is a very valuable resource. Nobody has strength to be wasting time. So just always have something to show. Have something to show. And then don't come out of the blues. Before you that, you'd have sort of started interacting with them. Like maybe when they tweet stuff, you reply. When you see a design that they create that you really like, you can just reply and talk to them about it and that kind of thing. So yeah, establish a relationship sort of, and then be consistent, constantly put out work. And then when you decide that you're ready to reach out to them for feedback, don't go empty. Come with something that you want them to speak on, something that you think that they would have some insight on. That's what I think. I hope that was helpful.
Yes, yes. Thanks a lot.
All right. Hi. Thank you so much for your presentation. I think it was really apt and
like you talked about very salient points. For me, I think the major issue I have is like that imposter syndrome and that feeling of actually not being enough, no matter how much you study and you put out your work. Well, my question is budging around portfolio. You mentioned that when you want to, like, it's good to tailor your portfolio to the roles that you're applying for. So for instance, when you have like, you want to apply for like a fintech role now, and you have like a couple of stuff you want to do, and your portfolio is just one on a particular website, how do you prioritize the works that you've done on fintech? Do you like section them, or since it's just one portfolio that you have?
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. So there are actually different ways you can do it. Like, I know WordPress has this thing where it allows you to take down pages that you don't want at a particular time. So you can hide some pages that you don't need. So I feel like a couple of what's it called? A couple of CMSs. I'm sorry, the word left my head. So a couple of content management systems, they allow you to take down the parts of your portfolio that you don't want. Like currently now, my whole portfolio is still on the internet, but I took most of it down and I only have a homepage on it because WordPress allowed me to do that. Do you understand? But then it's not really a hard and fast rule, but yeah, it's just like a good rule for you to have your best work front and center. It's not very, like, I feel like it's a waste of effort for you to have like all your work there, because when all your work is up there, the odds that you were not able to put in the same amount of effort into all of them will be there. And then it shows some form of inconsistency from you as a designer, which is not a very good look for your future employer. You get what I'm trying to say?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Well, in a case where you are applying for multiple job roles, say you're applying for a media company, fintech, agri-tech, and the likes, when you take down those pages, how would they reflect since you're applying for multiple roles?
Yeah, if you apply for multiple roles, then yeah, you can go for it and just have everything there. But just make sure that if you're going to have everything in quotes, it doesn't have to be everything. Do you get? Like, just make sure that it's your best work. Remove the part of your mind that says that, yeah, I've done all these things and all of them must be on your portfolio. It is fine for all your work to not be on your portfolio. Make sure that this work is your strongest possible work, because you are not there to defend your work. Do you understand? It's your work that is speaking for you. So if your work is wishy-washy, and then, or maybe now, imagine where you put all your work in your portfolio, and then your best work doesn't appear first on that portfolio, and they open that first thing that is not your best work. Do you see how that has worked against you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just a good rule to just like always reduce the quantity as much as possible, and then those 3 or 4 that you have put there, channel your energy into making it the best ever work that they've seen.
Okay. My last question would be, would you advise sending out like a Dribble or Behance portfolio instead of like a web portfolio?
Behance, yes. Dribble, no.
Okay.
Yeah, because Behance allows you to have like a whole case study thing on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can write about your work. But Dribble is just visual. It just shows, oh yeah, I'm a very good visual person. But then you are not applying to be a graphic designer or a visual designer. You are applying to be a UI UX designer. UI UX designer is someone that knows the process and can follow it from end to end. So whatever you are sending as your portfolio should reflect your capabilities as a UI UX designer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Fantastic section, I must say. But my question is, now talking about case study, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Oh, talking about case study, should we make it elaborate, or we should just keep it as summarized as it should be, having pictures for then maybe some few lines of words, or you will advise that we should just make it as elaborate as possible? Because I'm thinking personally, I'm lazy to write. That's number one. Then maybe being lazy, I'll encourage myself that, okay, if it's too long, then that means it will bore the people that will read it, So should we try to make it elaborate, or should just keep it as brief as it could be? Thank you.
That was a very the tough one, honestly. Okay, I'm going to show you a case study I did when I was still job hunting quickly, and then I will try to answer your question from that. So let me just find, yeah. Okay. So I'm just going to share. So this is when this was a that was the word, English is hard. So the fictional app I created back in time. Like this was 2019, yeah. So this is overview and my reason. So obviously I was still learning, so I skipped some parts. I didn't show my research, but these personas were created after I had spoken to after I had done interviews with a couple of people. And then my user journey and information architecture, I wrote a bit about it. Wireframes, I wrote a bit about it. Then design elements, wrote a bit about it. Color palette, wrote a bit about it. Icons, wrote about it. Then features, wrote about it, and all of that. Then my testing, I wrote about how I tested and what I did, like the result of my testing, wrote about it. And then my final design, then my next steps. So now that I've said that, back to your question, I'll tell you that don't be lazy about it. Write what you need to write to make sure it's very clear. Like obviously you won't be verbose, and I can't give you a word limit, but just write as much as you can to make sure you are communicating clearly. So I won't give you a word limit, but just look at people's case studies. There's this website called Case Study Factory that is like a really good guide, or there's an article called Case Study Factory, a really good guide on how to write case studies. So don't be lazy. I'm sorry, Benga, please don't be lazy about your portfolio. Please don't be lazy about your portfolio. It is your portfolio or your case study, because you are not there to explain your decisions. So a good rule is explain to the point where if you are not there, they can understand why you took the decisions you did. You get? So if you're able to do that, that's a good judge as to whether you're writing too much or too little. Does that help? Hello?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So I will drop the link to the case study factory thing in the chat now, just in case, so you can take a look at it later.
Thanks for your responses so far.
What?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
All right. Okay. So do we have any more questions before we wrap up?
Mine is just a was, could you please help us with this document so that at least we can go over it?
Oh, yeah, so we'll get that from Sheto.
Oh, the slide, yeah, I'll send them, no worries.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other person? Thomas saying, Baby, Genevieve. Who else is on the call? Venice, Chooks, Rhoda. Any questions before we let Sheto off? Okay, so I'll take it as that we don't have any more questions. So Sheto, thank you once again for coming through for us. It was a really insightful session. I'm currently planning on sharing this with recent alumni from 0.6 and 0.7, just to give them that extra ginger. Even when you're on the job, you still need this insight to keep motivating yourself and keep doing better. So thank you once again. I would request for a slide from you via mail and any other resources that you've used for the session. And I think there's also a task to be done just to help them get their hands dirty with your portfolio.
If you finish your portfolio and you need like an extra set of eyes, you can get my email from, I think my email is with her already. So yeah, you can always send it to me and I'll try to give as much feedback as I can. I would love to give feedback.
Generous of her. Yeah. It's a very generous offer. I would advise you, everyone on this call, to just leverage on that. thank you so much again.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you to get ahead with the rest of your day, and would like to do this again, maybe for another cohort. Hopefully, you'd
Thank you
also
for
accept our
having me.
invite.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining the call. Do enjoy the rest
Bye.
of your day. Yeah. Bye bye. Hi, Kabir. So she made you the host. You need to end the meeting,
Okay,
or
okay,
you
yeah.
could just make me the host. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, I'll end it now. Thanks.